Many thanks for staying with us right here on KBC Channel 1. You're watching Good Morning Kenya. This is Eye on Politics, today being a Monday, the 26th of January 2026. Today we are looking at the presidential quest, because you look at the political landscape and how things are going. The race to 2027 continues to gain momentum, and political tectonics are still moving, and the latest entry into the presidential race is one Honorable Eliud Owalo, who is a former CS and immediate Deputy Chief of Staff in charge of delivery and government efficiency in the executive office of the president. So the question here is, does his journey reflect principled leadership, or it's shaped by principled leadership shaped by conviction, or strategic compromise shaped by power? That is what we are looking at today. But before we get into that, I want to quickly take you through what is captured on the front page of our local dailies, and I will quickly start with the Daily Nation. Wamboi fights equity auction over 8 billion shillings debt. When President Ruto swept to power, businesswoman Mary Wamboi got lucky. The state dropped a 2.5 billion tax evasion case against her. The traders' companies also went on to bag multi-billion shilling tenders to import foodstuffs, as she too was appointed to a plum state job. But her business empire is under threat from 8.2 billion loans, with Equity banks seeking to auction her flagship asset, Glee Hotel. That is the main story that is being captured on the front page of Daily Nation, and it's told in detail on page 4 and 5 of the same daily. How Rogue Police planned attack on Gachagua. The violent attack on former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua during a church service in Othaya, Nyeri County yesterday was allegedly planned in Nairobi on Friday, according to an officer who claimed to have been part of the operation. Read that story on page 7 of the Daily Nation. Coast has lowest turnout of senior school students. That story is told on page 2. And finally, Ida welcomes Ruto's diplomatic job offer. That story is told on page 6 of the Daily Nation. Moving on to the Standard newspaper. President, stop this. Tear gas in a church, bullets in the air, and children choking in Othaya marked the latest attack on former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, and amid a surge in such incidents since his impeachment. What unfolded at Witima ACK was not just political violence, but an assault on faith, law, and public safety. As accusations swirl around police involvement, responsibility ultimately rests with the President, William Ruto, who must rein in the security apparatus and restore order. Read that story in detail on page 4 of the Standard. And finally, on the front page of the Star newspaper, fresh NSSF raid on salaried to further erode take-home pay. That story is told on page 4 and 5 of the Star newspaper. New rates will only apply to those earning 108,000 shillings and above. That story is told on page 4 and 5. MP's report exposes why Kenyan migrant workers get stranded. That story is told on page 12. And finally, this is an interview with Nurani, entrepreneur who built multi-billion-dollar hospitality empire. That story is told on page 6 of the Star newspaper. That is what is captured in the front page of our local dailies. And now getting into the conversation of the day in studio, I'm joined by Honorable Eliud Owalo, a former CS of ICT and Digital Economy, former Deputy Chief of Staff in charge of delivery and government efficiency in the executive office of the President. Karibu sana to Good Morning Kenya.
Thank you, it's my pleasure.
How are you doing this morning?
Fine.
Weekend imekuwa mzuri.
Safi. Yes.
A lot has happened within the political scene, but I want us to get first to your, you've declared your presidential ambitions.
Yes.
Intentions to seek presidency in 2027.
Yes.
What informed this political direction?
You see, I've held extensive consultations with various stakeholder segments in the recent past. And a cross-section of Kenyans have urged me on to run for the presidency. The feeling of Kenyans is that we no longer need legacy politicians at the helm. We need managers, we need transformational leaders, we need technocrats who can manage the resources of these countries, which have been looted since independence. In fact, Kenya is a very strong economy to have withstood the level of pilferage of resources that we have gone through so far. So I've held extensive consultations with various stakeholder forums, and I've made a deliberate and conscious decision that I'm fit and ready to lead Kenya's third and final liberation, which in my view is economic liberation. We have had two liberations in the past. The first one is what saw us transition from the colonialist leadership to independence of the country. The second liberation was the transition from single-party dictatorship to multi-party democracy. The third and only remaining liberation that we need to go through is economic liberation. And I want to lead this from the front. And I believe I'm equal to the task. Yes.
Do you believe that Kenya is ready for a technocrat to be at the helm?
I do believe so, and I'm fully convinced that I'll go the full hog in this journey. I've analyzed our macroeconomic environment, and I've zeroed in on about 9 macro-level parameters and issues that I want to focus on. The first one is taxation. Punitive taxation. I want to address punitive taxation. I want to put in place a taxation regime that is all-inclusive, impartial, and non-punitive. Today, we are dealing with a tax regime that continues escalating the tax levels indiscriminately, in total disregard to the economic base and stakeholder base of the country. I believe that if we put in place proper fiscal policies, we should be able to have a tax regime that facilitates inclusivity, equity, and equitability in the tax administration. In this regard, having analyzed various economic parameters, I verily believe that if we widen the tax base by bringing in more Kenyans into economic activity and thereby ensuring that they enhance the level of their disposable income and be able to pay tax, we should be able cumulatively to reduce the level of income tax from 35% to 20%. In equal measure, we should be able to reduce the level of VAT from 16% to 10%. I've also analyzed the level of debt. Debt is a major issue in this country. We keep on accumulating debt because we are not able to finance expenditure courtesy of domestically generated revenue. Under my administration, I would wish to have zero budget deficit to the extent that we only spend what we are able to generate. We accumulate debt because expenditure exceeds the level of domestic revenue. Based on the arguments I've just advanced of enhancing the tax base and bringing in more Kenyans into the tax bracket, we should be able to enhance the level of tax revenue, domestic tax revenue to the extent that we are able to facilitate both our recurrent and domestic expenditure using internally generated resources. But in equal measure, we must seal revenue leakages. And this will be done courtesy of digitalization. Yeah? If we digitalize everything, we should be able to seal revenue leakages. Let us digitalize procurement. Let us also digitalize expenditure so that we have got a dashboard through which we are able to have visibility of how every cent, public shilling, is utilized. I would not wish to see a situation where we acquire debt to finance general expenditure. Debt should only be acquired to finance projects or programs which are self-financing. You only put debt in a program that can generate adequate revenue out of that debt and repay the what? The debt. What we are doing today is transferring current debt to future generations, which in my view is unacceptable. So that is one area I'll focus on as well. The other area of great concern is employment. We are today dealing with astronomical unemployment levels. I want to sort out this by turning Kenya into a digital economy. I believe in that space we have got unlimited opportunities. That is a journey I started when I was CS for ICT. I believe I should be able to pursue it to a logical conclusion, setting up digital hubs, creating opportunities in the digital jobs space by way of digital jobs, and also leveraging on the immense potential of the youth in sports to create opportunities. Sports is an exploited virgin area which we can also fully exploit to create job opportunities for the youth. Another area which I want to address adequately and decisively is corruption. Corruption is a big menace in this country. And corruption requires, to fight corruption, we require decisive leadership from the top. We are today dealing with a situation where most of our resources is siphoned out by way of pilferage or corruption. In fact, estimates to the tune of 2 billion shillings is lost daily, courtesy of corruption. We will deal with the corruption by ensuring that we seal all revenue leakages, courtesy of digitalization. But two, also, we need to go back and audit all cases of corruption within the period of the current constitution from 2010 to date. If I'm elected president, I'll reopen all cases of corruption from 2010 to date and make sure that Kenyans can get a closure to these cases so that we know who have been the perpetrators of corruption. We have so many mega corruption cases which have not been fully investigated, and to date Kenyans are grappling with, Kenyans are yet to know who are actually behind these mega corruptions. I want to revisit that, but we will also go a step further and undertake forensic audit of assets held by those who are culpable. Whether those assets are within the Kenyan borders or beyond the Kenyan borders, we need to bring those people to book and also seize all those assets so that they go back to the Kenyan public.
But looking at what you're saying about corruption, that is something that people seeking office have taken advantage of, and they're saying once we take power, we'll do this, we'll deal with corruption, but really there's no impact.
Look at my past. Look at my past, and I think evidence is there for everybody to see. When I was CS for ICT, that ministry under my leadership was evaluated to be the least corrupt by the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. My track record in private sector is there for everybody to see. My track record in government is there for everybody to see. I believe I've got the wherewithal and capacity to fight corruption.
You know, you've served at the heart of government as a CS and also now your immediate former post of Deputy Chief of Staff. You've been in government. So why should Kenyans believe that someone who was part of what you would call a government system can come out and convince them that he is the agent of change?
Let me ask you, among all these politicians who are running for presidency, who has never been in government? You use experiences in government to inform what you are going to do in the future. And I want to leverage on experiences I've gotten in government to facilitate the third liberation of this country. I believe I'm equal to the task. I believe I'm a performer. My track record speaks for itself. I believe I've got the capacity to provide the leadership that this country requires. We are not constrained in terms of laws and regulations and institutions that fight corruption. The challenge we are facing is leadership deficit, to the extent that in the institutions which are supposed to fight governance are not allowed to exercise their mandate independently of political interference. And that is what I'm out to elevate once elected president.
You're on record saying that you will not continue to work for political individuals. But
I want to work for Kenyans.
But for the Kenyan people.
Yeah.
So what does that mean, given that you have held positions as a CS?
Yes.
And now your former post that you had in government?
You know, I believe in order, and I believe in professionalism. When I made a public declaration of intent to run for the presidency, I immediately followed with tendering of my resignation from office, because there are things I need to do which I cannot continue doing when I'm holding a public office within the current administration. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, at what point did you see that there is a specific gap within the current leadership that we have in the country, and you think that this gap is what really requires Honorable Eliud Owalo to fix?
You know, I've been all over this country inspecting projects, more so when I was in government as CSICT. I was all over the country rolling out digital projects. But also when I was in charge of delivery and government efficiency, I went to all parts of the country inspecting government projects. But the feedback in the course of interaction with the people there at the grassroots is that they are not feeling the impact of the programs that we have rolled out. What they are asking is, you keep on talking about these projects, but there is no tangible benefit by way of a substantial rise in the level of disposable income of the people. People are still feeling the weight of the pressure of the cost of living. And I've come to the conclusion that perhaps the wealth that we are creating, courtesy of economic growth, could be going into the hands of a few individuals. Yeah? This is one of the issues which I really want to elevate, the level of income inequality. Yeah? Kenya is one of the most unequal countries in the world. Yeah? You find that the wealth of this country is in the hands of about 125 people. 50 million Kenyans are actually not beneficiaries of the wealth that we generate, courtesy of annual economic economic growth. In fact, 40% of Kenyans, as we speak, live below the poverty line. These are some of the issues which I want to address. Yeah.
You did say about issues that you want to address, and you talked about taxation and debt.
Yes.
What are the others?
The other issue I want to address are sectoral issues, such as education. I believe that if we enhance the level of our domestic revenue and seal revenue leakages, we should be able to have free primary education. Yeah? We should also be able to have free day secondary education. In equal measure, in the health sector, I believe we should be able to have free health services in all public hospitals. It used to happen in the 70s and 80s, and we should be asking ourselves, we need to look back in retrospect and ask ourselves, where did we go wrong? We used to have free medical care in public institutions. It can only be attributed to pilferage of resources. And this is one of the areas where I feel we should be able to go back to factory settings and sort out. Yeah.
Do you think we can decisively deal with corruption in this country?
Yes, but it requires the will to fight the vice. It requires the will to fight the vice.
Why has it been a problem? Because there's something that we've been talking year in, year out about corruption, but still...
You know, corruption thrives based on cartels, yeah? And based on the environment that is prevailing within government on one hand and the private sector on the other. It is a collusion between public and private sectors, both as facilitators of corruption. What we need to do is, one, to ensure that we allow independent institutions which are mandated to fight corruption to do their work without political interference. Two, we need to completely eliminate conflict of interest in government. As we speak, one of the biggest challenges is a situation where we have government officers also being suppliers of goods and services into government. Yeah? You find that somebody's a procurement officer, somebody's a finance officer, they go out there, they collude, they set up phony companies out there through proxy, yeah? They supply goods and services to government and they pay themselves. That is a conflict of interest. That really is the genesis of corruption. Two, manual processes in government. I'll give you an example. Courtesy of digitalization, we are able to fundamentally reduce the level of corruption in government. When I was appointed CS for ICT, on a good day, government would collect about 60 million shillings, yeah, by way of domestic revenue. courtesy of digitalization, today government is in a position to collect up to 900 million to 1 billion shillings in a given day. Just because we have sealed the government has sealed the revenue leakages through digitalization. So I believe that if we have proactive measures, we are able to deal with prevention of corruption, courtesy of digitalization, as opposed to being reactive to the menace of corruption. Yeah.
All right.
But this requires decisive leadership.
Decisive leadership.
And a leadership that believes in good governance.
What about political goodwill?
Political goodwill must involve buy-in by various stakeholders. Okay? This is our country. We have no other country to go to. And it is incumbent upon all of us as Kenyans to change our culture. We need a change of mindset. How much money does one need? Yeah? If you are able to meet your basic needs, why should you be on a looting spree at the expense of the common mwananchi? So we must have a change in mindset. Kenyans need to understand that we only have one country, which has systematically been looted since independence, and we need really to re-engineer the culture within both the public and private sectors and say, look, please, we have enough resources for the needs of all of us, but not enough for the greed of some of us. Yeah.
Let's look at your time as the CS for ICT and digital economy. You have spoken about digital hubs and even the aspect of digital inclusion, and we also have fiber rollout.
Yes.
But from your time as the CS, can you point to one way that an ordinary Kenyan, say someone in Bomet, someone in Turkana, or someone in Kibra, can measurably say that this ICT policy benefited me?
Look, there's ample evidence for everybody to see. When I went into government as CS ICT, we only had 350 services on the digital platform. Yeah? By the time I left, we had about 20,000 government services available on digital platform, and this actually reduced the interaction between Kenyans and public officers, and this is one way of sorting out the issues of corruption, seeking of economic rent, because bribery comes about as a result of physical interface between members of the public and government officials. If you do everything online without having to interact with a government officer, then nobody will have the opportunity to ask you for a bribe. That is something I'm very proud of. I went on an ambitious program of rolling out fiber. We had a target of 100,000 kilometers of fiber. By the time I left government, we had already done about 12,000 kilometers. And imagine this was done within just 1 year, okay? The initial 1 year. I embarked on the process of rolling out Wi-Fi hotspots, in markets and in bus stops. By the time I left, we had already rolled out these Wi-Fi hotspots to 174 markets. The other area was the digital hubs. We started off by setting up the digital hubs in institutions of polytechnics and institutions of higher learning. By the time I left that ministry, we had already set up the digital hubs in almost all polytechnics. I think we had 112 polytechnics and also institutions of higher learning. And this is what facilitated now the digital training on one hand and the digital jobs on the other. Look at Concert. Within Concert, we set up the online educational platform. To the extent that Kenyans are now able to virtually acquire higher education online without having to physically step into a public office. So my record within that ministry is evident for everybody to see.
Would you say there's something, apart from what you've said, that you personally added that would never have happened without you? Because we are talking about, when you look at Kenya's ICT initiatives, already we had Concert Technopolis. I look at mobile money startups, we had that. What can you say, this is what I brought, and without me?
I eliminated the corruption in that sector. Ask anybody. That ministry was a no-go zone in terms of corruption. Anybody who was seeking economic rent had no space in that ministry when I was at the helm. Ask anybody in that ministry today.
Well,
I also introduced a work ethic that was not there before. a results-driven work ethic, performance-based work ethic. That was not there. People were coming to the office in the morning and waiting to go away in the evening without being accountable for by way of performance. I introduced a performance management framework within that ministry that ensured that everybody was accountable by way of performance.
Yes. You know, the digital economy does promise jobs,
yes,
for the youth. The youth unemployment still remains high.
Yes.
You know, the Federation of Kenya Employers put it at around 12.7%. You know, did your ministry oversell these digital solutions at the time to what is primarily what you would say an economic industrial problem?
You know, the digital space is just one of the avenues of sorting out unemployment problems. There are various other avenues that we can utilize. Another one, a case in point, is sports. We have got abundance of talent among the Kenyan youth, which can fully be exploited to create opportunities for the youth, sustainable opportunities for the youth. I want us to look at employment not just as a means of getting white-collar jobs, but I want us to look at unemployment as a wider context through which we should be able to turn job seekers into entrepreneurs. Yeah? If we put in money and opportunities in the Juakali sector, we will have a lot of youth gainfully employed in carpentry, in masonry, in plumbing, electrical, mechanical works, and so on and so on. The Juakali sector has got a lot of what? A lot of opportunities, okay? Within this digital space, it's not just a question of getting the digital jobs per se, but I believe that courtesy of these digital jobs, these youth should be able to save money and invest, yeah, within that digital space so that they become entrepreneurs as opposed to job seekers. Yeah.
Indeed. We're continuing with this conversation. We are talking with the Honorable Eliud Owalo, who is seeking the presidency in 2027. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. You're watching Good Morning Kenya. This is I on Politics, and in studio we have Honorable Eliud Owalo, who is a former CS. We continue with this conversation, Mheshimiwa, and when you look at the business environment within the country,
yes,
how would you rate it?
Well, we have not done well in that area. One is multiple licensing. Today, a prospective investor, foreign investor who comes to invest in Kenya, needs to undergo about 86 licensing procedures, yeah, through different institutions. I believe we can be able to sort out this by having a digital platform through which all these applications and approvals, applications can be lodged and approvals granted. You do not need a prospective investor to hope from one institution to another to be given multiple licenses. Let everything be lodged on digital platform so that we minimize interaction between an investor and what? An investor and a public officers. This is one of the ways through which we'll be able to make Kenya investment friendly and also eliminate corruption in that space. Courtesy of the tax initiatives which are talked about, we should also be able to improve the business environment. Reduce the income tax from 35% to 20%, yeah? Reduce VAT from 16% to 10%. This will leave the private sector with an enhanced level of income. And you know that the only way to save is when the level of income goes up. If the level of income goes up, you'll be able to save. And if the level of savings goes up, the level of investment in the economy will also go up, because investment is a function of savings, of the level of savings. If we had prudent policies, which are fiscal policies, which are business friendly, I believe we should be able to grow this economy as Kenyans ourselves, okay? Just by creating the right business environment for the private sector. And also ensuring that there isn't undue government interference with business. You know, the business of government should not be to compete in business with the private sector. The business of government should be to ensure that we have got appropriate policies, be they fiscal or monetary policies, that would facilitate an enabling environment for the private sector to thrive. And that should be the focus of government. Government should not go into an area which is not its core mandate by competing in business with business. Yeah.
You know, you say that, and also it also points to how Kenyans are dealing with everyday life.
Yeah.
Matters of higher cost of living, taxation, and also now shrinking pay slips.
Yes.
It begs the question, the current economic upheavals that Kenyans are facing, do they justify the future gains? Or it's a case where the government misreads public tolerance?
You see, why does government initiate increased level of taxation as a fiscal measure? It is because there is a divergence between the expenditure levels and the revenue levels. Yeah? Today, we have got about 35 million Kenyans who, if put into gainful economic activity, can actually get into the tax bracket. We only have about 9 million Kenyans today who are paying taxes. Yeah? Why don't we think of how we can take money to the value chains, yeah? Those sectors which are docile, as we speak, get more people into the income bracket, yeah? By extension, get these people into the tax bracket, yeah? Either maintain or reduce the level of taxation, but still generate the current level of domestic revenue, or even enhance the level of domestic revenue. It's a question of how we want to implement our fiscal policies by way of taxation. Personally, I will go the route of ensuring that we have more Kenyans involved in economic activity and reducing the tax base, the tax rate.
From your perspective, who should be listened to more? Is it the lenders, the economists, or the common mwananchi?
Why does government exist? Government exists to serve the common mwananchi. So we should be able to listen to the common mwananchi. If, for example, the middle class tell us that, look, the level of taxation is unmanageable, yeah? We are not able to meet basic needs because the pay slip, yeah, is overtaxed. We should be able to listen to the middle class. If the common mwananchi tell us that the cost of living is too high, we should be able to listen to them because we exist to serve the public. You see, most of these punitive taxation measures come about because we have gotten involved in projects which are not necessarily addressing the needs of the common mwananchi, but budgeted for purposes of corruption, where people are seeking economic what? Economic rent. Yeah? We go borrowing at times, more often than not, to finance projects which are not necessarily feasible, but where people have got interests. These are some of the things that we should do about. And I've said that under my government, there is no foreign debt that will be sought or acquired to finance a project that cannot pay for itself. That will be a no-go zone. We should not be getting foreign debt that will burden future generations. Debt should only be gotten in instances where a project is proved feasible and should be able to repay the debt. Yeah. Right. Not a situation where we are getting foreign debt to finance ordinary expenditure and transferring that as a burden to future generations.
You know, Kenya now uses more than 1 trillion shillings to service debts.
Yeah.
So let's say you are in power. How would your economic strategy look like, especially when you look at freeing resources to fund sectors like health,
yes,
education?
It's very simple, my friend. One, seal revenue leakages. Yeah? Eliminate corruption. Yeah? Courtesy of the initiatives that are already stated. And then divest resources from areas such as security, where we are putting in a lot of money in terms of budgetary provision, and take it back to areas like education and health. Why do we need to pump in billions, colossal sums of money into the security sector? A sector that, under normal circumstances, is not even audited. Yeah? Why don't we redirect that money I'm not saying we don't finance the security sector, but it should be financed to manageable, optimal levels. But here today we are dealing with a situation where colossal sums of money are being taken to the security sector. That security sector does not undergo the normal auditing processes. Yeah? So we should be able to divest some of those resources to be able to finance education and health as basic needs. Government exists to serve the common mwananchi. Government does not exist to serve the chosen few. Yeah.
Let's look at the rule of law.
Yeah.
We have incidences, and the recent one is the yesterday incident where the former deputy president, where they were attending church, they were tear gassed in church. What do you make of that? And when it comes to the rule of law, it also applies to how people also express themselves, what they need to the government of the day.
You know, my friend, we are today guided by our 2010 constitutional dispensation. And that should be the common denominator on which everything is pegged. The rule of law espouses that everybody is equal before the law. And that means that irrespective of your position in government, you must subscribe to the dictates of the Constitution. But some of these instances of acts of omission or commission and impunity in total disregard to the Constitution is to me unacceptable. Everybody as a Kenyan must subscribe to the Constitution. And what public servants and officers need to know, that their acts of omission one day, whether in office or outside office, they will be personally held accountable for their acts of omission or commission if they disregard the Constitution. The Constitution is supreme, and anything that is inconsistent with the Constitution is null and void to the extent of that inconsistency. Yeah.
How do you describe the democratic space within Kenya and East Africa at large?
We have seen what happened in Tanzania. To me, that is unacceptable. Yeah. We have also seen what has happened in Uganda the other day. I mean, we should allow people to exercise their democratic rights and elect the leaders they want for all positions. In Kenya, for example, we must give the people the freedom of choice and enabling environment to choose the leaders that they want. Let us have a common playing ground, and let us transition from politics which is built around ethnic enclaves, and personality cults, to issue-based politics. And this is one of the reasons why I've gotten into this race, because I believe we need to have a paradigm shift, in our political arena, where we transition from this retrogressive politics to issue-based politics. Time could not be more ripe than this. Retrogressive politics built around tribes, built around sharing of position by individuals, is not going to take us anywhere as a country. We have done this since independence, and we are still grappling with the same challenges facing the common consumer. So I really wish that starting these coming elections of 2027, we transition into issue-based politics where leaders will articulate what they really want to do for the people, where leaders will be held accountable by way of results. We have been taken through a vicious circle of poverty, inconsistency, and contradictions since independence by the political class. Time could not be ripe to put an end to this than these 2027 elections. And this is why I've decided to enter this race, so that we can give Kenyans the much needed transformational leadership that they desire.
What would you say, would a citizen-centered kind of vetting work this time round? If at all we are looking at, Kenyans are looking at putting responsible leaders into place.
What do you mean by citizen-centered? We need really to change our mindset as Kenyans, because we have that opportunity through the ballot. As Kenyans, we must change our mindset. What type of leaders do we really require? We need leaders who are transformational. We need leaders who are actually going to facilitate zero tolerance to corruption at both levels of government, the national government and the county government. Today, what are we witnessing? A situation where somebody in public office, in the national government, steals money. And then he runs down to go and contest for parliamentary seat or governor. And you find Kenyans electing him because he has got the stolen money. So we must change our mindset as Kenyans. What type of leaders do we require? We need credibility in leadership, integrity. Yeah? And it cannot, we don't have any better opportunity than the electoral process itself to weed out, yeah, these looters of the economy. We should not allow these people to ascend to any position of leadership in the future. Yeah.
Does the Chapter 6 of the Constitution, will it apply when it comes to the next crop of leaders that are going to be...
It should, absolutely.
Elected next year.
And it should be enforced. The challenge we have is that we have never had a problem of laws and regulations. The problem we have is enforcement of the same. Enforcement of the same. Look at our 2010 constitutional dispensation. Today, certain quarters are already talking about change of the constitution. But what I'm asking myself is, have we even taken stock of the 2010 constitution to be able to ascertain the level of implementation of the same, the milestones we have realized, the challenges we have faced, the gaps in the implementation, and so on and so forth. We are not short of laws and regulations. The problem is enforcement. And this calls for leadership, decisive leadership, transformational leadership, and allowing independent institutions to do their work without political interference.
What do you make of how the younger generation is expressing itself on social media, especially when it comes to matters of governance, politics, and the direction in which the country is going?
They are actually the leaders of today. You know, those fellows are ahead of us, the younger generation. They are ahead of us because they know where this country is supposed to go. And let me tell you, yeah, that change process, all of us, it's incumbent upon all of us to align to that change process. Anybody who is not able to take that route will be considered irrelevant. Yeah.
We've seen upheavals like the one happening in 2024 and 2025.
Yeah.
But how do you plan on engaging them, especially when it comes to matters that touch on economy and issues to do with the issues that affect them?
You know, those fellows don't think tribe, yeah? And that's the Kenya we want. They think in terms of issues. Look at the issues which the younger generation have been raising. They have been raising issues to do with the cost of living. They have been raising issues to do with corruption. They have been raising issues to do with taxation. They have not been raising issues to do with tribe or religion or creed. Okay? So that's why I'm saying they are ahead of us. And that is the Kenya that we want. It's incumbent upon all of us as Kenyans to now engage constructively on issues of the day. And these are the issues which are on the table today. Cost of living, corruption, unemployment, taxation, and so on and so forth. These are the issues that we need to have progressive discussions about and come up with solutions to address those fundamental challenges. Yeah.
You know, looking at Kenya's presidency, which is where you are gunning for, it transcends ideas, so to speak, to include the aspect of managing power, ethnic tensions, and also institutions and global pressure. Say Honorable Eliud Owalo has been made president by Kenyan people. What do you think prepares you for that burden better than other seasoned politicians?
One, I don't have baggage from the past. Yeah, I'm coming in with clean hands. Yeah, I've got an adequate experience in the private sector where I was a consultant for 23 years before I joined government, and I cut niche in the market as one of Africa's best strategists. My track record in government is there for everybody to see. Zero tolerance to corruption, a performer, results-oriented person, a workaholic for the good of all Kenyans. I believe that I should be able to lead this third deliberations that is so fundamental for Kenyans at this point in time. Yeah.
All right.
And I will ensure that there is equity and equitability in the utilization of Kenya's resources and wealth in total disregard to tribe, race, religion, or creed.
Are we really able to move away from, when it comes to politics, and from your perspective?
Yes.
Are we really able to move away from going back to our tribal cocoons every time an electioneering period comes?
Personally, I'll run a tribeless campaign. You know, many Kenyans have asked me, where is your tribal where is your tribal value proposition? And I've told them I don't need a tribal value proposition. Where is my support base? And I've told them my support base are those Kenyans in the value chains, yeah, who require proper policies to be able to exploit their full potential. My base is the middle class Kenyans, yeah, who are feeling the weight of high taxation. My base is the youth who are unemployed and devoid of opportunities. So that is the type of issue-based campaign that I want to run. I will not be going to any ethnic community to seek ethnic backing. No, I'm beyond that.
You know, when you announced your bid for the presidency,
yes,
you know, social media was awash with all manner of comments, but one thing that one that stood out was
yes.
You're a project.
Yeah.
What do you say to that?
I've also heard about that, that I'm a project of President Ruto. Nothing could be further from the truth. You know, even lies require some reasonable level of intelligence to be sustained.
Yes.
I'm a very forthright and decisive individual. In 2019, when I decided to join the Ruto campaign and I worked with him in preparation for that election for 3 years, yeah, before the elections, I did it against all odds. Everybody thought that the Azimio presidential candidate was going to win that elections. But I decided to work with Ruto. Yeah? So I do not need to get out of Ruto's government to work with him in secrecy. I've held positions in his government as a cabinet secretary, as a deputy chief of staff, 2 portfolios, first for responsible for performance and delivery, and subsequently for delivery and efficiency, were both cabinet level appointments. So why would I leave that government if I want to work with him and go out to work with him from outside? I mean, it beats logic. There's no justification in that. Yeah? If I want to work with him, I work with him in the open. But I've opted to go out when everybody is rushing in. That is Eliud Owalo for you, and I'm determined to go the full hog.
Are we likely to see you aligning with, you know, political alignments are happening left, right, and center? Are we likely to see Eliud Owalo aligning?
I'm not interested in aligning with politicians for purposes of sharing power. I want to align with these Kenyan masses I've espoused. Yeah? The unemployed youth, yeah? Those involved in gainful activities at SME levels who need a better environment, the middle class, those to me are my partners. Those are my partners in this in pursuit of this vision. Yes. I've got a vision to pursue and a mission to accomplish. Yeah.
Your vision and your journey.
Yes.
From your perspective.
Yes.
And just to make sure that Kenyans understand where you're coming from.
Yes.
Is it, does it reflect principled leadership, or it's shaped by conviction, or a strategic compromise shaped by power? You've been in government.
I've just stated that I have a vision to pursue and a mission to accomplish, and I'm going the full hog. It is informed by what I want to do for the benefit of Kenyans, not personal. Not personal gain. I mean, I was much better off in the private sector before I joined public sector. I went into public sector to serve, and my record in that public sector is evident for everybody to see. I'm going this route this time round to help alleviate the challenges facing the common mwananchi. I want to lead this third liberation so that I sort out inequality in opportunities, ensure that there's equitable distribution of resources, address issues of punitive taxation, ensure that there's full conformity to the rule of law, sort out issues of debt, among many pertinent issues.
Equitable distribution of resources.
Yes.
Do we have an inadequate equitability?
There's inequitable distribution of resources. I just told you, yeah, that 40% of Kenyans today are living below the poverty line. Kenya is one of the most unequal countries in the world. The resources in this country, believe you me, are in the hands of 125 individuals. That means 50 million plus, yeah, are deprived of national wealth. We cannot continue like this. It is unacceptable. Resources must go back to the people.
Why did you point this out when you were the CS?
Come again?
What didn't you point it out when you were the CS?
But I did that. I did that courtesy of the mandate that was bestowed on me. Didn't I come out to ensure that we had got fiber rollout in those parts which had hitherto not seen fiber? Didn't I go out to the countryside and set up Wi-Fi hotspots in markets where our mothers and sisters involved in itinerary trade had never seen a Wi-Fi? Didn't I go to the villages? Did I come up with a policy framework that would ensure that we have got digital hubs in each and every ward in this country? Didn't I constitute a sector working group, entailing both individuals from the public and private sector to sort out moribund laws within the ICT industry so that Kenya can be at par in tandem with best case examples in the world that we need to benchmark with. So I've always led by example. And I believe that when I was given that mandate as Minister, as CS for ICT, I ensured that anything that was within my disposal was done impartially, in full conformity to the principles of equity and equitability. Yeah.
You know, is there an uncomfortable truth about Kenya that, from your perspective, you think politicians avoid saying, but which you're willing to say?
Well, we need to work for the people. That should be the bottom line. We need to work for the people. Any public servant who is not willing to work for the people, to me, is in the wrong business. But I'm happy that we are today dealing with a more enlightened population. We are dealing with a youth that is very enlightened, a youth that has got the zeal to correct some of the anomalies that we have witnessed in the past. And anybody who is not able to conform to the dictates of the prevailing operational environment is living on borrowed time. Yeah.
You know, in the interest of time,
yes,
for a Kenyan who is watching you right now,
yes,
maybe they're struggling with school fees, hospital bills, what assurance do you give them that if, in case you are sent to the president, that this burden is going to be addressed?
Within the first 90 days of an Eliud Owalo presidency, there will be free primary education, free day secondary education. There will be free healthcare in all public hospitals. Income tax will go down from 35% to 20%. VAT will go down from 16% to 10%. Digital tax will be completely eliminated. There will be zero tolerance to corruption. Public debt will fully be sorted out to the extent that there will be no budget deficit. And we will not utilize public debt to finance general expenditure. Those are my promises.
Yes. Your final remarks, Mheshimiwa.
I've got a vision anchored on the fundamental challenges facing the common Kenyan, and I want to appeal to Kenyans to join me in this journey of the third liberation of this country, which is economic emancipation. Together we can achieve it.
Thank you so much.
Believe you me.
Yes. Asante sana.
Thank you.
Mheshimiwa Owalo, who is a former CS and now a presidential aspirant in the run-up to the general election of 2027. This is where this conversation comes to a stop. My name is Mike Migwe. Thank you for tuning in. Good Morning Kenya continues in a short while. Stay with us.